Hi everybody, Barry here from Make It So Adult Fitness in Long Beach with a tutorial today about your muscles. Everyone goes, well, yeah, I got muscles. What do I need to know? I just need to know how to exercise them. That's all I want to know. And that's maybe all you need to know. But I have a category of lesson that I call HADIC, or HIDIC rather, which is an acronym I made up for, hey, I didn't know that. The HIDICs are intended to give you just enough background on something, not that you can memorize it, because you don't need to, but that to understand that when you're doing a training program that's been professionally designed, that there's a reason why you're going to do different things in different ways, or certain things in certain ways, if you'd rather say it that way. So when we talk about strength training, you're talking about your muscles. We think about muscles as being kind of those show and tell things that make us look good. But that's not their purpose. Their purpose is so that you can locomote, you can walk. If you're in a wheelchair, you can still locomote. Muscles along your spine and your lower back that support your posture. The muscles in your neck, for example, that support the weight of that 8-pound head. Your head weighs pretty much what a bowling ball does. And if your neck muscles weren't strong, then your neck would always be kind of like that. So your muscles are not just for supporting your posture and for being able to move, they're also for being able to perform tasks that require varying levels of strength. Whether it's picking something up, whether it's pushing it, whether it's pulling it, whether it's dragging it, whether it's kicking it out of your way, you're going to use strength to accomplish the task. So they are task designed material. Your body has 3 different kinds of muscle. Your heart is a muscle, and that's cardiac muscle. Your organs have muscles, which is what helps you, for instance, helps you like swallow, helps move your blood through the circulatory system. All the different things that your body does that are not really even voluntary, things that it does on its own. What we're talking about now, though, are muscles that are in your voluntary control, and those are called skeletal muscles. Those are the muscles that are at 100% of your body, from the bottom of your feet all the way up to your face. We think of the major muscle groups, so that would be like your legs, which includes the glutes or your butt. We think of the abdominals in the front and the sides, all the way over on the sides. We think of the back, we think of the lower back or low back. We think of the shoulders, the arms. So these are all the muscles that we train, the muscles we train by exercise. We train, or at least for strength, through exercise. We train for like athletic achievement by practicing that sport or things that mimic things that you do in that sport. So this tutorial is about the skeletal muscles. So when you think about a muscle, you kind of think about the shapes on your body. The most obvious, probably, are the muscles of the tuchus maximus, your gluteus maximus or glute max. For guys, we kind of think about the biceps or the dad arms. We think about the hips. But all the muscles kind of work the same way. And they're made from muscle fibers, and muscle fibers are made from two protein filaments called actin and myosin. Again, these are things that you don't have to know other than to know that there's a reason why there's certain things that you're going to do during exercise, and there's a reason for doing it, even if you're not interested in what the reason is, just appreciating that there is a reason why you want to do it. Each muscle has a shape or a form, and if you don't have an excess amount of body fat that covers them, then you can actually see the outline of the muscles. A good example is the biceps in the front of the upper arm. The biceps, or the upper arm, is only about 3% of all the muscles in your body, or all of the skeletal muscles. But that 3% has about 250,000 individual muscle fibers, and while 3% seems very unimportant, the biceps, or the upper arms, are extremely important, and when measuring strength, they're one of the first muscles that we look at. And the reason for that is muscles have task-specific roles that they play. Yes, you can do things like jumping and leaping, or sports where you would be kicking, but basically your leg muscles were made to support your weight and facilitate biped movement. Your arms are made really to pick up things, to push things, to carry things, to pull things. And they're really the only muscles in your body that we use for those purposes, or we use certainly for those purposes more than every other muscle combined. So we measure strength often by the strength that you have in your arms. As I said, each muscle is made from muscle fibers. So when you see the shape or the form of a muscle, if you could take your skin off and remove the layer of fat that then is over the muscle, which I don't recommend, by the way, but if you could, what you would see is, again, those muscles are not that shape. They're that shape as it's made up from all these different fibers. The biceps, for example, well, let me digress a moment. Muscles all have funny names. All muscles take their name either from Greek or Latin or a combination. So the biceps is called a biceps because it means two heads. You've probably been told two heads are better than one. Well, that's a good example. So the head, if you could see it without your skin and without the fat covering the muscle, you would see it's two distinct parts of the muscle. The back of the arms is the triceps, and it has three heads: triceps, head; biceps, biceps, head. The muscle in the front of your thigh, quadriceps, four heads. So on throughout all of your skeletal muscle system. Because we use our arms to pick up things, to carry things, to push things, to pull things, upper arm strength is very important. As I said, muscles are comprised of individual muscle fibers, and as I also mentioned, the biceps, just as an example, is about 3% of the total muscle mass of your body, but it has like 250,000 individual muscle fibers. Muscle fibers are microscopic in size. I'll give you an illustration that I made, but again, if you were to look at them with the naked eye, that's not how they would look. You'd need a microscope to see it. So here's my illustration. So this is just yarn. And you'll notice there's 3 different colors. Got white, pink, and red. Each one of your muscle fibers is one of 3 colors: white, pink, or red. The white fibers have the widest, what's called cross section width. Next in size are the pink fibers, and then the narrowest are the red. The red fibers are red because they are powered by oxygen. As long as you're breathing, your muscles are not going to run out of its energy source. The white cells have the biggest diameter. They are the thickest. They're white because they do not have oxygen. They're fueled basically by calories from your diet, especially calories that come from carbohydrates, which is converted to glucose or sugar. The pink fibers are intermediate. That's what you have that are in between the red fibers and the white fibers. And they have properties that in common with both the red and the white fibers. If you look in a textbook, you'll always see muscle fibers referred to as either fast twitch or slow twitch. Twitch just has to do with how quickly they fatigue. So the white fibers, which are the biggest ones, are fast fatiguing fibers. Think of it this way. Pick up something really heavy. You can only pick it up and hold it for a few seconds, and then you're going to put it down. Pick up something very light, and you're going to use these red fibers, and you can carry it for a long time. But that's only because it's light. Think of pencils. If you pick up a number 2 lead pencil, it's not heavy. You're not even really aware that it weighs anything when you pick it up. It does, but not so as you'd be aware. It doesn't really pose any kind of a challenge. If you have a box of 12 number 2 pencils, still not very heavy, but if you weigh the difference between a single pencil and a box of 12, you'll certainly see the difference. But then if you have a master case of number 2 pencils, that's the way that it's shipped to the warehouses to be later broken out and distributed to schools, to big stationery stores like Office Depot and Staples. Well, the master case is really, really heavy, but they're still number 2 pencils. Okay? So depending on how hard the task is will also determine which muscle fibers will be recruited to complete the task. Now, this is going to get a little bit geeky. When a muscle contracts, it contracts on the basis of all or nothing. You can't partially contract a muscle fiber. It doesn't work that way. So if it's like a biceps where it contracts when you flex it and then it relaxes when you unflex it, it will contract fully or it doesn't contract at all. So what happens is, depending on how strong the task is, will determine how many of these either red, pink, or white fibers get recruited to do the job. The harder the job, the more fibers that will be recruited. So again, you'll read about white fibers, which fatigue very quickly, and red fibers, which have a lot of resistance. Your legs, for example, would have more of the red fibers. That's why you can walk for a very, very long time using the same legs and moving forward the same way you would walking, except doing it running as fast as you can, how long can you do that? A few seconds? Most of us, unless we're trained athletes with sprinting sports, can probably sprint full out as fast as you can, maybe 7 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, and that's it. Your muscles will burn, they'll ache, you can't go any farther. But you couldn't do that sprinting if it wasn't for these white fibers. The white fibers are called type 2. Walking are type 1. You can walk for a long time, unless you're really out of shape. They're powered with oxygen, and like I said earlier, as long as you're breathing, you're not going to run out of oxygen. Then the pink muscle fibers have properties of both the white and the red. They're technically classed as red muscle fibers, but they have properties of both. They're stronger than the red fibers. They're not as strong as the white fibers. Where this becomes important for us, for practical purposes, as we age, we lose strength before we lose power, and we lose strength in the lower body before we lose it in the upper body. Now, this also has a lot to do with the way a trainer would design a fitness program. You want muscles to be strong. You want them to be able to accomplish tasks, and you don't want them to lose strength, and especially you don't want them to lose power. What is the difference between power and strength? Power is force times velocity. I know that's kind of hard to process, but power would be like if you were to stand up real fast. Stand up real fast versus standing up and sitting down. Jumping uses power. Okay. So we train muscles for the task that we want them to perform based on what they're going to do with the muscle fibers. I'm going to cut this off now. I've laid the predicate for the next discussion about muscles where your eyes won't glaze over so much when we get into individual exercises and the way that they recruit muscle fibers. So for now, my time is up, and I thank you for yours.